You think a liar will look away? You think they'll sweat, stammer, fidget, maybe scratch the back of their neck like some bad actor in a TV crime drama. That's what most people believe. And behavioral scientists, along with the FBI, have a name for that belief. They call it garbage cognition. Here's the reality. You are lied to between 10 and 200 times every single day. Most of those lies you will never catch. Not because you're not smart enough, but because you're looking for the wrong things. And if you're still relying on cheap body language tricks you picked up from some viral post, you are not a lie detector. You are a target. Here's what's actually going on. The human brain was never wired to detect lies through isolated gestures. A blink, a pause, a micro-expression that lasts a quarter of a second. Even the polygraph, the machine built specifically to catch liars, can be beaten. And courts around the world refuse to accept polygraph results as evidence. Think about that. The problem isn't heart rate or sweat glands. The problem runs much deeper than that. The real leak, the one that actually exposes a liar, is something called cognitive load and linguistic residue. When someone lies, their brain is doing something extraordinarily expensive. It has to suppress the truth, construct a false version, hold that false version in working memory, and then perform it convincingly, all at the same time. That is a lot of RAM. And under that pressure, the brain leaks, quietly, consistently, in ways the liar cannot fully control. That's what we're hunting today. If you don't change this, you'll keep getting played. Here's what makes this worse. Skilled liars know what you're looking for. They've studied the same myths you have, and they use those myths against you. You expect fidgeting? They sit completely still, unnaturally still, like a person who has rehearsed calmness. You expect eye contact avoidance? They lock eyes with you, unblinking, steady. Because they've learned that direct eye contact reads as honesty. This is called perception management. And the more you rely on surface-level signals, the easier you are to manipulate. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what these myths do to your judgment. Because you're not just failing to catch liars, you're actively penalizing honest people. Think about it. The person who breaks eye contact, they might just be shy, or neurodivergent, or raised in a culture where sustained eye contact is considered disrespectful. But the sociopath across the table, they've had years of practice holding your gaze while they dismantle your trust. You end up suspicious of the innocent and charmed by the dangerous. So, here's the pivot. Stop looking for anxiety. Start looking for leaks. Only about 5% of your brain is consciously running the conversation. The other 95%, that's operating beneath the surface. And when someone is busy building a lie, that 95% starts to betray them. You just have to know where to look. Here are the 4 most powerful psychological tools to expose a liar. Not theory. Technique. Tool 1. Linguistic distancing. When a person lies, something strange happens to their language. Unconsciously, they start to erase themselves from their own story. The word I disappears. This is called linguistic distancing. And it's one of the most reliable signals in deception research. Honest people anchor themselves in their stories. They say, I left the office, I stopped at the store, I came home. The I is everywhere, because the memory is real, and they lived it. Now, watch what happens with a liar. Left the office around 5, stopped somewhere, got home late. Same story, but the subject vanished. The I is gone, because on a subconscious level, they don't want to own what they're saying. The brain is trying to create distance between the person and the lie, and it does it automatically, without the liar even realizing. The most famous real-world example of this, Bill Clinton. When the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke, he didn't say, I did not sleep with Monica Lewinsky. He said, and this is almost word for word, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. That woman. Not her name, not even her. That woman. 3 words of maximum psychological distance, jammed into a single phrase. The subconscious mind was screaming what the mouth refused to say. Listen for the I. When it disappears, lean in. Tool 2. The onion effect. Cognitive complexity. Think of a real memory like an onion. It has layers. The outer layer, what you saw and heard. The second layer, what you smelled and felt. The third layer, spatial details, where things were, how far apart, what angle you were standing at. And deeper still, the emotional texture of the moment. A real memory has all of those layers, because you were actually there. A lie only has the outer skin. Liars prepare the story they need you to believe. They script the facts they think you'll ask about, but they almost never prepare the surrounding environment, the sensory world of the moment. And that's exactly where you attack. Don't ask, what did you do? That's the layer they have rehearsed. Ask this instead. What did the room smell like? How far was your chair from the window? What song was playing in the background? Who scored in the game you said you were watching? Watch what happens. An honest person will dig into the memory and retrieve it, imperfectly, naturally, with some uncertainty. Because real memory is messy, a liar will freeze, or over-explain, or give you a suspiciously polished answer that sounds more like a press release than a human recollection. That's the system crashing under cognitive load. You didn't catch them lying, you made lying too expensive to maintain. Tool 3. The paradox of detail. Here's something counterintuitive. More detail is not more credibility. More detail is sometimes the clearest sign of deception. Liars are afraid of silence, afraid of the blank space where doubt lives. So they fill it with extras, with noise, with details that are technically specific but emotionally hollow. An honest person asked, "What did you do last night?" says something like, "Went to the store, cooked dinner, fell asleep watching TV." Natural, automatic, incomplete in the way all real memories are. A liar says, "Okay, so I left around 6:47, actually maybe 6:45, somewhere around there. Ran into my neighbor, we talked for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Then I crossed at the light on Birch Street. There was this blue delivery truck parked weird. Went into the store, bought 2 bags of popcorn, the butter kind, paid cash I think, came out, stopped to light a cigarette." That's not memory, that's a screenplay. Natural memory doesn't timestamp routine actions. It doesn't color-code parked vehicles. It doesn't itemize snack purchases. What you're hearing is the brain in overdrive, trying to construct plausibility through volume, trying to convince you, and themselves, through sheer accumulation of detail. Listen for hedge words too. Kind of, sort of, more or less, you could say. These are verbal padding, the brain buying time while it manufactures the next piece of the story. Real confidence doesn't hedge, real memory doesn't need to decorate itself. When the detail feels almost too precise, that's your signal. Slow down, go back, push on that seam. Tool 4. Baseline shift and the fight or flight leak. This is the rule that FBI agents live by. No single behavior means lying. A behavior only means something when it deviates from that person's baseline. Before you can catch the shift, you need to know the normal. So, when you first sit down with someone, in any context where truth matters, spend the first few minutes asking easy, low-stakes questions. Where'd you grow up? How was your weekend? What do you think of this weather? Watch how they move, how they gesture, how they hold their face, how fast they talk. That is their baseline. That is the control. Now, the moment you ask the question that matters, watch for the shift. If they normally wave their hands around when they talk, but suddenly go completely still the moment you ask about the missing money, that's suppression. That's them consciously managing their performance. And that effort is a tell. But here's the thing that makes this even more interesting. When someone lies, the body still prepares for danger. Adrenaline floods the system, the same fight or flight response triggered by physical threat. The legs want to run, the hands want to act, but they can't move. They're sitting across from you, trying to look calm. So that energy has to go somewhere. It leaks, as a voice that suddenly pitches higher, as a leg that bounces under the table, as restless, purposeless movement that has no logical origin in the conversation. The most extreme case on record, Jodi Arias, convicted of murdering her boyfriend, was left alone in the interrogation room while detectives stepped out. The cameras kept rolling. She did a headstand against the wall. That is fight or flight energy with nowhere left to go. You're not always going to see headstands, but you will see the leak, if you know what baseline you're measuring against. Spotting a liar isn't about staring them down. It's not about reading their face like a playing card. It's about knowing where the brain leaks when it's under pressure. Watch for the disappearing eye, the subconscious attempt to step away from a story they own. Peel the onion with sensory questions, the ones they never prepared for. Listen when detail becomes performance, when precision feels like a script, not a memory. And always, always track the baseline, because the shift is the signal. One more thing before you go. Lies are everywhere. Most of them are small. Most of them are harmless, people protecting feelings, softening edges, getting through the day. Don't turn yourself into a lie detector machine running against everyone you love. Save these tools for when it counts, for the partnership that feels off, the deal that doesn't sit right, the person who keeps explaining when you never ask them to. You don't need to catch everyone. You just need to stop being the easiest person in the room to deceive. If you've ever caught someone in a lie, and there was one specific detail that gave them away, drop it in the comments. I want to hear what it was. Those real stories are more valuable than any theory. If this gave you something useful, hit like. It tells the algorithm this kind of content is worth pushing to people who actually need it. Subscribe if you want more tools like this, because we're just getting started. And share this with someone you think needs to hear it. Sometimes the best way to help a person is to let a video say what you can't. The world is full of people who are very good at performing honesty. The gap between them and you just got a little smaller.